For a shipyard, the choice of production site is often motivated by reasons of a financial or industrial nature, which conflict with the need to be near the sea, where it's necessary to carry out experiments with their boats. However, Cranchi has found a solution to this by placing one of its 4 production sites at San Giorgio di Nogaro in Friuli, a place where not only some of its boats are built, but where, above all the new models are experimented and tested at sea. This possibility is, however, not only reserved to the shipyard's technicians, but is also offered to its clients who, for 365 days a year, have the Cranchi boats at their disposal. Well, we too would like and have the opportunity of trying out one of these models, sailing it in the waters of the lagoon and taking it out to be tested on the sea that is swept by the Bora winds. The latest model in Cranchi's flying bridge range is the Atlantique 43, a boat that tries to replicate a further 2 models. On the one hand, the Atlantique 50, the flagship of the flying bridge range with characteristics of livability that are very similar, and on the other, a very successful model, the Méditerranée 43, with a hull known for its excellent performance. Anyway, the Atlantique 43 also has a strong personality, especially with regard to the design of the interior. Let's go and discover it with our sailing test. Despite this being a flying bridge, the most traditional type of boat, the shipyard has wanted to give this design a very modern footprint. We can see, for example, the prow bridge, where there are 2 sun deck cushion holders which are separated. The aim was that of creating a window that would give a lot of light to the master cabin. The sun lounger is placed flush with the surface of the covering deck, and, in this way, the action of the wind is less violent, and so you'll never see it flying off. Also because it's held to the front of the prow in a completely reliable manner. What's more, the headrest can be regulated with regard to its height for the best possible comfort, and, at the center, between the 2 cushions, there is a support that serves for holding a sunshade. The handrails of the Cranchi boat are characteristic mainly because they have the holders for the fenders and for the ring lifebelt, which is always ready for use. But, above all, because in this part of the prow, where others tend to descend to make the style more important, here, on board these boats and also on the Atlantique 43, the handrail is extremely high. As we said, one of the most important elements is that of being able to hold on with safety when on board the boat. So, look at this handle. A detail in high density expanse polyurethane, and so very light, which helps when you descend the gangway to the cockpit. There's also a handrail in the ceiling of this area of the cockpit, and this is something which is fairly rare, but very useful, because even in this area of the boat, you have to move about when you're sailing. Then, to get up to the fly, there's only one handle on the right-hand side of this ladder, but in future versions there will be another on this side as well. Precisely because this is a flying bridge boat, it's right that the shipyard has attributed such great importance to the upper deck. So, as happened with the 40, the Atlantique 43 also has a very extended surface area in this part in relation to the overall external dimensions of the boat. It is so wide and so well exploited that you don't have any nostalgia for the flagship flying bridge of the range, the 50. Let's see how this area has been organized. The sun deck is here, alongside the piloting position, and is also developed in front of the pilot bridge. And in this way, the surface area is wider. Then there's an area which has been dedicated to the sink and alongside the fridge, while at the aft, there's a sofa with a foldable table in front of it, but which can also be lowered to create a sun lounger right in front of the sofa. One interesting detail of the fly is the door that closes the access ladder. See, it's transparent, so you can see if someone might be opening it up while they're coming up. The upper deck helm is organized with a fairly compact pilot bridge that leaves space for other furnishings, but which nonetheless is equipped with just about everything you might need. The map plotter remains close at hand, and the instruments are extremely legible, giving up the indications of the engine functioning. Helm, joystick and command levers are really comfortable to hold, and this chair is effectively also very comfortable. But it also offers another possibility, that of being transformed into a lower back support. It's not useful in terms of having a better view, which we already have in perfect conditions even when sitting down, but it is useful especially to be at ease when sailing on a rough sea. Symmetry is one of the solutions preferred by architects to make the design of a boat more pleasing, but at times it's good to break these molds in favor of usability, functionality, and even commodity. Look, for example, at this type of asymmetric aft, which, as mentioned, with a pathway that allows you to go down into the cockpit straight from the gangway without having to climb over the sofa. Another characteristic and fundamental element is the sense of airiness that is obtained through this large glass surface. Compared to the designs of a few years ago, this is really talking about something completely different. The furnishings have been done with low furniture that never preclude the possibility of glancing outside through the windows. Even the television, which is placed inside this element, is brought out only when needed. Two accessories that make life even more pleasurable on board are the wine cellar and the ice maker. The wardroom sofa can also be used to create a bed for two people. The same cushions used as a backrest are used to create a mattress to lie on. One of the key elements of the Atlantic 43 design is undoubtedly the sense of depth that you feel in this wardroom on the main deck. There are no barriers, limits of any kind, and in this way, the gaze can sweep from the aft up to the galley that is below the windscreen. The position of the galley on this boat is truly strategic. It's in a position that is lower with respect to the main deck, and this allows in some way to isolate it, but it is also basically in direct communication with all the other rooms of the boat. It is also placed precisely below the windscreen, and so it gets plenty of light. Basically, this would in all cases be destined as a transit area towards the sleeping quarters, and so why not use it also for this purpose? The work position inside the galley itself is optimal, because on the one side are the sink and the hobs, and on the other the microwave and the fridge column. Furthermore, there are lots of cupboards, all very well organized in accordance with the cranky style and tradition, and ultimately there is a dishwasher. The master cabin has a height at entry of 1.9 meters and a bed that measures 2 meters in length and 1.5 meters in width. The width is increased by these two lateral sofas placed precisely alongside the mattress. It's furnished with different types of wood, dermast for the bulkheads and the doors, and bengue for the decorations, and for a piece of furniture that takes up the entire left side of the room. There are wardrobes, drawers, cupboards, and even a ladies' dressing table. The glass basin is one of the many trendy objects on this boat, and this is the bathroom of the master suite, with direct access from the cabin and equipped with a shower box and a plexiglass door. It really seems a bit reductive to have to define this as the second cabin on the boat, because it is at least as comfortable as the master cabin. In the entry area there is a large room where you can change, and then the beds are placed in the lowest part of the boat, 1.2 meters below the level of the double bed at the prow, so here you will feel the pitch and roll a lot less. There are also lots of space for the wardrobe and the cupboards placed along the top side. The two beds are each 2 meters long, and one is 75 centimeters wide, and the other up to 80. And then this, where we're sitting, can basically be used, thanks to these cushions, as a comfortable sofa where you can watch the TV, which is on the opposite side. The second bathroom is accessible directly from the guest cabin, but it has a second door that opens onto the below-deck hallway, and so can be used as a daytime bathroom. One of the most important characteristics is the size, which develops over a surface area of 2 square meters, and so, thanks to this, it's been possible to set up, on one side, a spacious shower cabin, and on the other, as well as the facilities, also a washing machine. The Atlantic 43 that we have at our disposal today for our sailing test is equipped with 2 Volvo Penta D6 435 horsepower engines. Naturally, it has IPS propulsion. Well, all that we need to do now is discover its nautical qualities. So, let's try it out. We're out in the open sea, and there's a northeasterly wind that is raising steep and fairly insidious waves of about 70 centimeters in height. Obviously, it's not much, but it's fairly frequent and can bother a lot of boats. So, conditions where it could be possible not to be able to work in a particularly easy manner, but allows you to appreciate a lot of things about the boat. We've taken the boat to surfing level at about 12 knots, 2,000 revs per minute, and the aft wake begins to be detached. But it finds a more agile trim that is more appropriate for a minimum sailing pace at 15 knots and 2,200 engine revs. If we should find ourselves in difficulty with an even more dangerous sea with much higher waves, we know that at 15 knots we'd be able to have an excellent control of the boat, or, in other words, the thrust of the propulsion allows us at the moment to easily steer the boat in all directions and thereby tackle the waves in the best possible way with the right angles. The D6 engines of the Volvo are 6 435 horsepower cylinders which are on this boat coupled with IPS propulsion to give you the maximum possible performance. We've taken them up to 2,450 revs a minute, and it's the moment to give it the maximum of the couple, so the best possible power performance, meaning the lowest fuel consumption in relation to the speed and the HP that it can manage to produce. At this regime, we're sailing at a speed of 18 knots. Keeping the regime constantly at 2,450 revs per minute and a speed of 19 knots, we can see that the fuel consumption of both engines is around 80 litres. This means that in these conditions we can sail for about 14 hours, an autonomy that goes even beyond 260 miles. That's an interesting bit of news, achieved thanks to the fact that the fuel tank capacity of the Atlantic 43 is 1,100 litres. Conditions may not be ideal, but the behaviour of the boat encourages us to push it a bit more, and so we give it a bit more gas to find the maximum cruising speed of the boat after having seen the most economic one. 3,000 revs per minute are what we can consider the maximum cruising regime possible. The GPS tells us that we're sailing between 28 and 29 knots, but above all, we can see that despite deep crosses, we can hold the route with precision, undoubtedly merit of the propulsion, but also of the boat's hull. Despite the 3,000 revs per minute, there's just 72 decibels of noise. And above all, we're sailing on a sea that is anything but calm. The waves at the moment are even higher, almost 1 meter in height. So the result of the soundproofing of the engines, but also of how the structures and even the furniture have been assembled, tells us that the shipyard has really known how to minimize the noise on this boat under every condition. As you can see, the conditions are definitely not the best. Anyway, we keep the lever down as we want to test the speed and above all the behaviour, even when we're tackling the sea head-on. This is what you'd call a real test. So let's try turning, taking the waves in the best possible conditions. Let's see what happens while still maintaining the speed at a fairly high rate. We've tried it out on the open sea, discovering that even with 1 meter waves running on the boat, it sails really well. We were able to push it beyond 25 knots without any suffering at all. Athwart it remains a considerable ability to be steered. When we encounter prow on waves, it's better to lower the flaps a bit, to put as much of the hull in the water as possible. We've now reached a sheltered area, but we want to push on the gas to discover what its best performance can be. In better water conditions, we can try to discover what the acceleration features of the boat are. It's a flying bridge, of course, but it has two 435 horsepower engines that we want to squeeze every drop out of, so that we can appreciate the potential of the propulsion and, naturally, the boat itself. After a very brief equilibration, it finds the right trim to go up 15 knots, and then we put the lever down hard to find the maximum speed possible. 3,500 revs a minute, and it's clear that at this pace the fuel consumption goes up considerably, so that we're at 166 litres for each engine. The IPS propulsion not only allows you to maneuver more easily in port by using the joystick, for example, but when it is perfectly coupled with a hull like this, it also allows you to manage the boat with extreme rapidity in sailing. Look at how readily you can change route, possibly to tackle a wave differently, or even simply to avoid an unexpected obstacle. So, on the conclusion of the test we've just carried out, there's one thing that needs to be said. In the only bit of the sea where we managed to push the boat to the maximum speed, we then found an opposing current of up to 3 knots. For a correct and complete assessment of all the test data, we have to point out that the fuel tank was 3/4 full and that the wind was also against us. So, in summary, the Atlantique 43, with a maximum speed of 34 real knots, is effectively one of the most brilliant flying bridges in its category.